True or false? You can't really practice the guitar or music when you're traveling. Well, if you're still watching this, it's because you know the answer is false. I'm David Harsh with Guitar Success for You, and as someone who has traveled all over North America and even into Europe with my musical pursuits, I've got 10 tips for practicing the guitar on the go. Now, we host Zoom calls inside our Guitar Success for You membership, and we're always wanting to give our members what they want in terms of topical discussions. Jordan teed up this discussion about practicing while traveling. He lives in a Navy town, and he and a lot of other people from his area are either on deployment or traveling for weeks or months at a time, but he still wants to play his instrument and get some traction. So we hosted this discussion, and I came up with these discussion points and even received a few additional insights from our members. And I'm really excited to share all of this with you. Now, at certain points in this short video, I'm going to share with you a few pieces of gear that you could purchase via the links in the description. They will help you. Now, if you buy them through our Amazon links, we will receive a small commission at no additional cost to you, and it will help us to continue to do what we do as we serve you. So thanks in advance for considering supporting us in this way as you get some great gear to help you on your journey. Now, we practice at home, and if we practice on the road, we could still get results, but it's going to be a little bit different. So we need to prepare ourselves for that and take some steps even in advance. So let's get into 10 tips for practicing on the go. Tip number 1, purchase some helpful gear. Right off the bat, one of our members, John, told me about this handy little deal. This is a portable guitar neck. They're very inexpensive. You basically have the first 5 frets and strings that'll actually allow you to feel where you are on the instrument. But it's super portable, and it even comes with a handy little Allen wrench for tightening the strings to tension so they can feel fairly accurate to the chords or the scales you might want to play. So consider buying one of these. It's a baby guitar neck that I can play with my tiny hands. Now, this is a baby Taylor guitar. This particular model is the BT2E. It's got electronics in it. Now, when I play it, it sounds good. It doesn't have a lot of resonance, but because it is electronic, it sounds fabulous. The pickups in this make it sound really, really good. So I will often travel with a baby Taylor guitar, especially when I'm not gigging. Now, this particular guitar does not come with a hard case, like you might have seen in the thumbnail, but you can purchase a hard case that goes with it. Anyway, having a smaller scale guitar like this will allow you to hear yourself play. I know there are other guitar traveler type models on the market, and some of them are just the neck, some of them have a small frame, but having something that actually is like an instrument for you to enjoy playing can be very, very helpful as you travel. Tip number 2, have a plan. If you know anything about me, you know that I'm very deliberate, especially when it comes to music. I don't want to get on the road and think, you know, I should probably be practicing right now. I want to plan in advance before my trip. I want to know what I'll be focusing on, whether it's a song or some exercises or something like that. So I try to bring either printed or digital materials that I can look at while I'm traveling. Tip number 3, tell someone you're going to practice. In my opinion, shared goals are way more effective than the goals we keep to ourselves. Let's see how close attention you're paying as I offer you this riddle. 5 frogs sat on a log. 4 of them decided to jump off into the water. How many were left on the log? If you said 5, you're correct, because they decided they were going to jump off, but they hadn't actually jumped yet. If I've decided I'm going to practice, but I don't share that goal with anyone, it's very possible that I won't actually practice. But I need to commit to it, and then I actually need to do it, right? Tip number 4, ask a local asset to loan you their guitar. Reach out before you head out on your trip and ask them if they'd be willing to loan you their guitar while you're in town. Then you don't even have to bring a guitar. You can bring a handful of things like a capo, this is my favorite capo, maybe have a guitar pick, and maybe bring a set of strings and a string winder and cutter. Why bring these 2 items? Well, if the guitar that your friend loans to you has strings that are in pretty bad shape, you can replace those strings. Or if they're in good shape, you can leave the set of strings behind as a thank you. One of our members, Cole, suggested this gesture. By the way, if you want to know my process for restringing, check out this deluxe video. And again, if you want to see my recommended strings and string winder cutter, please see the link in the description. Tip number 5. Redeem the time in the terminal and on the plane. Now, if you have your guitar, you can sit crisscross applesauce on the floor like I've done and play exercises while you watch the planes take off and land. You can do some listening or reading in the terminal or even on the plane. You can stare at charts, go through some of the lesson content you might be exploring, but do something even while you're at the airport or on the plane to redeem the time. Okay, we're halfway there. I encourage you to like, subscribe, and ring the bell if you've enjoyed this content thus far. On a related note, we've got a Substack blog and podcast episode about 12 unexpected places to play your guitar. I'll include the URL to our Guitar Serious Fun Substack, but you can also see the link in the description for that episode. It could inspire you even further. Okay, tip number 6. Give yourself grace for travel fatigue and jet lag. You're going to be under some stress, especially if you're flying through multiple time zones. So when you land, maybe don't insist on practicing on day 1. Maybe give it a day. Tip number 7. Allow for margin. You may be traveling for a reason other than music. You may have meals, appointments, time spent in transit, so you can do what you need to do on the trip. So make time to just do the things on your trip, and then when you have the margin to practice, do that. But balance your itinerary. Tip number 8. Strum with your thumb. This, to me, is especially helpful if you're staying in a hotel and you want to be considerate and quiet for your neighbors, but you still want to practice some of the songs you're working on. So if I'm playing chords, rather than using an actual pick, I can do this. It's actually quite pleasing to the ear. It's quiet, and I can still verify the actual chords I'm playing as I strum with my thumb. Tip number 9. Report your practice when you get home. When you get home from your trip, tell someone, maybe the same someone you told that you were going to practice, that you did practice, and maybe even be specific about what you practiced, or even for how much time. Being able to report back on a shared goal is a wonderful measure of thoroughness, and we feel that extra sense of accomplishment because we can have that accountability and feel like we can share what we actually got done. I've got one more tip for you, and it's a little unusual, but if you know the Lord, this is going to make total sense. Tip number 10. Commit your efforts to the Lord. Now, in my travels, sometimes I've been able to get some really good practice done, but in His kingdom economy, sometimes He brings someone else into a conversation with me when I least expect it. I might be practicing or playing in the airport terminal, and someone comes over to talk with me, and the next thing I know, I'm having a gospel conversation and sharing the good news with them. So be open to those divine appointments that might not necessarily be on your calendar. The guitar could be the very catalyst that the Lord uses to inspire a conversation with someone else about Him. So be ready for Him to move and be sensitive to the leading of the Holy Spirit. So those are 10 tips for practicing on the go. If you've got other tips you recommend for practicing on the go, please leave them in the comments. I'm so glad I've had the opportunity to practice on the go because it's helped my playing stay fresh, and I've occasionally met other musicians to jam with, or I've even written songs while I've been traveling. So put some of these strategies into practice and let me know how it goes. I'll see you in the next video.